how much will Chase Young help the 49ers?
I'll say 7.5, Skip. You know, I'm cautiously optimistic, but it's just they have to get some things figured out, period, point blank, with or without Chase Young. You know, they're bringing him to the fold. He's a tremendous talent. He's a guy that can make an impact. But so are the guys that they already have, and they're not using them in the way that they've used them in the past, and they're not getting home at the rate in which they have in the past. So they have to spend this bye week correcting that immediately before they can even worry about it. I don't know what Chase Young's impact. If Chase Young will have a lower impact if they're just running him into blockers as they have been with the rest of the D-line over the course of the last 3 games. If they don't let them just get in their 4 rush lanes and rush up the field and win their one-on-ones, they're going to struggle. And so I hope that they're figuring out a better plan going forward to utilize all of their talent. But if he comes in and plays the way he has this season, he will have a great impact on this team, and I think it'll help.
Okay, real quick before you go, Keyshawn. Richard, back to you for a second. Are you suggesting it's time to take play calling away from Steve Wilks, or are we heading in that direction? Is it Wilks' fault?
I don't know if it's all Wilks' fault, because I'm not gonna sit here and say, hey, every decision, players got to make plays too. There are times he's calling the right calls that guys aren't executing, but the 0 call in the middle of the field with 16 seconds to go against Minnesota would get a lot of people, on the hot seat at a lot of different spots, and on a great team like this to make a decision like that, it's going to make a head coach like Kyle Shanahan scratch his head, because you were better than the team that you were playing, and the only way you could have them get in that game is to make mistakes like that, to pressure them unnecessarily and give them a chance at huge plays instead of just making them walk the ball down the field in 2 minutes and stopping them and getting off the field and going home. And so I think Kyle Shanahan is definitely going to explore that option. I'm not sure the options that he has internally, to say, hey, Steve's not going to call it, I have somebody else to call it. If he doesn't have anybody in place, then he has to continue to allow Steve to call the plays. But I think he's going to force him to adjust, and he's going to force him to talk to Chris Kasarik, the D-line coach, and hear him out, hear the things that need to be changed so that his guys can be more effective and have more success. So I don't think, unless he goes to Daniel Bullock's, I don't see it really changing necessarily, unless he has somebody already in mind in the fold that he can say, hey, you're going to do it. Like, he's always had that succession plan. He had D'Amico after Salah. I don't think he had somebody after D'Amico Ryans. Yep. So I don't see it happening immediately.
Yeah, I don't think it's as big of a deal, other than having communication, getting them on the same page in terms of Steve Wilks, who's been a pretty good defensive coordinator in this league. I think Shanahan will give him that leeway to change it and fix it. You can't go into a panic mode after 3 losses when you're only scoring 17 points on the offensive side of the ball. So they just got some bye-week things that they need to fix. But back to the original question, you should be afraid of Chase Young. You should be, Skip. And the reason you should be is because he's playing pretty good football. He's finally healthy. Okay?
Is
Rookie,
he?
he's
Are you sure?
Well, I mean, based on the way he's played this year, it certainly seems to make me believe that he is healthy. Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2020. Then he plays 9 games, he gets hurt. He comes back in 2022, only can play 3, still trying to figure it out. Now you start to look at him. He's got 5 sacks on the year in 7 games. He's got 7 tackles for loss. He's pressuring the quarterback. He's doing all of those sort of things. And then you talk about, schematic-wise, where they're going to line him up at. I have no idea. But what I do know is he played with Nick Bosa at Ohio State.
He did.
Okay? That's a motivating factor to look across the field or on the other side of the defense and say, oh, my guy's at the left defensive end, I'm at the right.
Yep.
Oh, we can go eat together. They're going to line us up on the same side.
All
of those sort of things. Plus, as Richard has always said, from the front to the back, they got guys that can actually play. You say, well, how are they going to find snaps for all these guys? They'll find snaps. It's called rotation. You want your D linemen to be fresh. You want to have depth. We talked about the Dallas Cowboys originally having supposedly all this depth on their defensive line.
They do.
Well, now the 49ers are really deep on the defensive line side. In fact, they tried to get even deeper going after Jalen Johnson, the corner from the Chicago Bears, but they didn't want to give up a first-round pick and not be able to sign a bunch of other guys in the future. So they said, we're not willing to give up a one. So therefore, Chicago is stuck with him. They're doing all the right things. Now all they got to do is fix the defensive scheme, Richard, and I think the 49ers will be back where they were 5 weeks ago.
Okay, so what's your scale of 1 to 10 on impact of Chase Young? Are you up at a 10?
I'm at a 10.
You're at a 10?
Because I think about Gregory, I think about Armstead, I think about Bosa, and if they need a space eater in Kinlaw, I mean, I just look at all of those things that they have on the field, and to be able to say they went and got him for a reason. They didn't just get him because they felt, oh, we need another body. No, they went and got him because they see the impact that he was making this year for Washington on the field when he was out there.
I've been thinking about all those 49ers for the last 3 games, and they just keep losing games. I've been thinking about Randy Gregory, once a Dallas Cowboy, and thinking about what Keyshawn said the day the 49ers acquired him. You said, you guys are in trouble. You missed the boat again. Could have had him back. Nope. You just stood pat and let him escape to the 49ers. And I guess the 49ers are not that happy yet with Randy Gregory because they had to go get Chase Young.
It's called depth.
Oh.
I want to get the best players possible.
Yeah. It sounds like it's go ahead, Richard.
It's all about January football for Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers.
Absolutely.
So that's what they're getting these guys for. That's what they got Christian McCaffrey for. They got him for January football, not October football, not November football. They got him for January football. And when January football comes around and everybody's banged up and everybody's tight and everybody's like streamlined and focused, they're going to have pass rushers galore. And when we were at our best in Seattle, we had pass rushers galore. The year we went to we won the Super Bowl, we had Chris Clemens, and then we had Mike Bennett and Cliff Averill coming off the bench. We had Bruce Irvin. They were coming in waves and waves and waves and waves. Every time one subbed out, another subbed in, and he's just as ferocious as the last one. And so you talk about guys that can keep going. They're going to have guys that, hey, once you sub out, you're not getting a break. You're not taking a water break while the next guy comes in. Chase Young comes out. Randy Gregory's coming in. Nick Bosa comes out. You're going to probably deal with Drake Jackson. And in the interior, Javon Hargrave is no slouch. You know what he did in Philadelphia? He's had a pretty solid year so far, and Chase Young is having a career year. So I'm excited to see it. I'm just cautiously optimistic, though, Skip. I got to see it. I got to see them fix it first.
Okay. I think Richard was heading where I'm going to go because I'm on record about Chase Young before he was drafted. You can look it up if you so choose. I did not love him before he was drafted. He went 2nd overall, but I watched him closely at Ohio State, and I didn't see the 2nd pick in the draft consistently. He did not pop. I don't watch coaches' tape. I watch television. You need to jump off my screen if you're going to be the 2nd pick in the draft. And in the biggest games against a Michigan or a Penn State, he did not leap off my TV screen. And in Washington, he has had his moments because he's a very talented, very young man. He's still only, 24 years of age. So I'm going to give you that. But even though he's had his moments and he was the defensive rookie of the year, he never scared me when he played against Dallas because he was a non-factor. He disappeared against Dallas. He never took over games where I said, oh, there's the next Micah Parsons. He's not a Micah Parsons.
He hasn't been around no skip and takeover games. The dude got hurt. Okay. You can't judge him on his rookie season, and he was defensive rookie of the year, and then he's been hurt.
Still haven't seen it, and I don't see the motor run as hot as you need to run at that position. It still feels to me like it was a bit of a desperate move on the part of a desperate team, maybe even a panic-prone move on the part of a team that has gone from we're the best team by far to we just lost 3 straight games. And I'm still starting to think that the 49ers played their Super Bowl against Dallas, and it was 42-10, and you got me on that one because we played our toilet bowl game that night. But again, did they max out and we crapped out all at once? That's how it's starting to feel to me after the 49ers lost 3 in a row and reached for a 3rd-round pick rather desperately, if not panic-prone, for a Chase Young who has never lived up to the billing of the second pick.
How could you live up to the billing, Skip, if the young man has been injured, he's finally healthy, his numbers are backing up the health issues that you have, and much like Richard said, this is not about the Dallas Cowboys. This is about January.
I'm with
this
you.
is
I
about
understand.
if I get to the Super Bowl, I've got quarterbacks in the AFC. I got to get on the ground.
All right, here's all I know for sure about Chase Young. The Washington Commanders just said, we're out. Because the Washington Commanders did not pick up his fifth-year option because they're not sold on Chase Young. Are you sold, Mr. 10 out of 10? I'm not.
Skip, the San Francisco, this is a pretty much no-risk move for the San Francisco 49ers. The reason I say that is because the third-round picks that they traded,
they got them back. I understand.
They got them. Not only did they get them back, they got them for free. They got them because they sent coordinators and a GM out, and they got picks in exchange. And if he walks in free agency, he'll likely get a deal that gets him another third-rounder back. So it's a shrewd business move by John Lynch for a high-ceiling guy who could be a low-risk guy.
I give you shrewd, but how about impact? Even if we change our question to how will Chase Young impact the 49ers for this entire football season? Are you still at a 10? Because I'm not.
Skip, we got a guy in here for a third-round pick. We're not asking him to play 70 plays. We want you to be in a rotation. And when you fresh, we want you to go on the other side and chase down Jared Goff. That's what we brought you in here for. We didn't bring you in here to be our number one guy. You are in a rotation with a bunch of other good defensive linemen that could potentially turn our defense into something that helps us win a Super Bowl. That's how you look at it. And like Richard said, you're giving up a third-round pick that you got because we lost some personnel people. So we basically are getting a free look. And if you play at the level in which it rewards you a crazy contract, then we'll address that at the end of the season. And if not, he has an opportunity to go into free agency and we'll pick up the third-round pick again.
Yep, you could. But I'm going to remind you again, as Richard alluded to as he opened up this topic, the 49ers rank 24th right now out of 32 teams in pressure rate on their pass rush. So it's not working. I see the talent. I see it on paper. I don't see the productivity yet. I don't see it from, what do you call him, Richard? Nicholas John Bosa, is that his
Nicholas John Bosa.
Yeah, I don't see it yet from him.
He had a couple bad games, Skip.
But he's not taking over yet. And he's alluded to, Bosa's talked about, remember, he held out, and he said, I didn't get my legs underneath me because I missed too much of camp. So, again, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. You see these rushes we're seeing right now? These are one-on-one, straight up the field rushes. What they're doing is they're getting too sexy. They're getting too cute. And they're running these games. They're running too many games with a player that doesn't need games. Eric Armstead doesn't need games. Javon Hargrave doesn't need games. They need, line us up. 4, get us our one-on-ones. They're going to chip Nicholas John Bosa because he's the reigning defensive player of the year. The rest of us are going to have one-on-ones that we can win. So when you take that away, when you take the pin your ears back, get your butt up the field, that Chris Kasarik, I mean, he harps on. He's one of the best defensive line coaches in the National Football League, and he has taken guys who haven't had impact. He's taken guys that haven't had great careers and they got to San Francisco and they had career years, 6, 7 sacks because of the way he coaches and the tenacity and the attention to detail that he shows week in and week out. And I think that'll be a blessing to Chase Young, and it's going to be a blessing in this bye week because I think Kyle Shanahan is going to go to him and say, hey, Steve Wilks, Chris Kasarik, nice to meet you. This is what we need. Chris, what do you need for your guys to be most successful? Because that's what we're going to do. We're not going from the back end to the front end anymore. We're not going with these complex pressures. We're going pin our ears back, let our D-line eat coverage in the back end.
Man, it sounds desperate in San Francisco to me.
That does not sound desperate. What it sounds like is making adjustments, something that other teams don't do with their coaches. It sounds like what Richard is saying is they're going to probably make some adjustments. You got to remember, everybody on the defensive staff is still intact. Steve Wilks is a newcomer trying to teach them his scheme and his thought process in the way that he thinks. So this is a perfect opportunity in the middle of the season to all get on the same page. So when they come back out of the bye with the Chase Youngs and the Gregorys, the new additions to their defense, that everybody's on the same page and everybody gets it. That's something you don't want to see, though, Skip. You don't want you are afraid because the Cowboys made 0 moves, the Eagles made moves, and we see the Niners making moves, but the Cowboys, they didn't do anything. Okay. Nothing at all.
Even
and
Detroit
they got the Eagles
moves
on Sunday at 4 Eastern, okay? What?
We good.
Oh, okay. All right, little Jerry.
We good.
Okay.
All I know.
Little Jerry?
Hey,
That's crazy.
Not little Jerry. That's the last thing I am. All I know is I give you Christian McCaffrey. That was a steal of a deal for Kyle and John and company. But I do not believe that Chase Young will have the impact on the defense that Christian has had on the offense. And I'm going to stand by that. And I think Richard kind of agrees with me.
I don't think Richard is saying that.
Kind of agrees.
No, Richard's saying he wants to see.
I think he's slightly skeptical, just slightly skeptical of Chase Young, as Keyshawn should be. And,
I'm not. Why would I be, Skip?
Because
Why?
the Commanders just said no. They said we're out.
They said no because it's going to cost them. It's a financial decision.
Yeah, well,
they had to make the same decision on Sweat.
If he were Michael Parsons,
and they may not even be there.
Or if he were Nick Bosa, they would not have said no to Chase Young.
He's been injured.
Well, maybe they think he's always going to be, quote unquote, injured.
Maybe that is the case, but for a third-round pick that I got for free.
And by the way,
come on,
how good is it for my Cowboys that Washington just unloaded? No more Chase Young, no more Sweat.
And y'all still might lose to him.
Okay, we get to play him twice more.
And you still might lose.
Dub. Thank you.
And you still might lose like you lost to Arizona.
Would you like to bet any dinners on either of those games?
I don't want to bet any dinners.
Skip, when did you become such a gambling man?
Yum, yum, yum. All right, Keyshawn just brought it up, so let's go there. Jerry stands pat. I'm going to tell you why Jerry Jr. here, me, I'm weirdly okay with that.
Jerry Jr.
Yeah.
You're not okay with that. Yeah.
Here we go. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.